next topic, which is just simply put, it's just coconuts.
It shows the seriousness that companies have when it comes to ESG, right? When it makes sure that their supply chains are ethical. PETA, the People for the Ethical Treatment of Animals, has documented where monkeys in Thailand have been kidnapped, chained, and whipped so that they are then trained to take the coconuts off of the trees. And so people don't want to have their coconut milk sourced from chained, beaten monkeys. I mean, it's just that simple in a way. And so what has now happened is that PETA has gotten this to such a high level that retailers like Walmart, Costco, Target, and Kroger said they will stop carrying coconut milk from certain Thai suppliers. And now you have a company saying, we can't trust Thailand. We can't investigate this. So it's out. You have to be ethical. You do not need to be doing this to monkeys to be able to get coconuts.
This is the thing I don't get, Steve. I know HelloFresh. I know its reputation. I even know of people who have worked there. You're involved with ESG, with McClarty Associates. How does this happen? How are the supply chains not checked? Particularly when you're such a flag-waving, pro-environmental organization. How does this is not a small thing, whipping and torturing monkeys. How does it fall through the cracks?
Because people don't look into their supply chain. Like, these supply chains are very diverse. They're very disjointed. They're very fragmented. Yeah. And so to do the job, to go to the supply chain to make sure that the coconut milk is not being sourced unethically, to make sure that the women on the palm oil plantations are not being sexually harassed and abused, to make sure the Cambodian migrant workers are not being tied to fishing boats out in the sea off of Thailand to get the fish that you need for pet food. All of this goes on. Everybody knows it goes on, but it can be a cost to make sure your supply chain is ethical. And so people just don't pay the cost because they don't think consumers are willing to absorb the pennies more you're going to have to pay for every carton of coconut milk. And you know what? Consumers are going to change that. Governments are changing it, but consumers are changing it too.
Yeah, and boards as well, who are required to make sure that their companies are acting ethically. Thailand has approximately 80% of the market share for coconut milk in the U.S. and imported 78,000 tons. So that's there are a lot of supply chains, and I would imagine a lot of small farmers, very small farmers contributing into this, which again makes it that much more difficult to track.
Yeah, right? and
same with palm oil.
Well, and part of the issue is when you have a commodity like this, what Thailand has now said is that they're going to put in new measures to prevent the use of monkey labor in coconut production for export. Okay, but they're not banning it for import. So how are you going to know, well, this one was for markets export, this market's import? So that's going to get to be difficult. And there is actually, you can go check this out on the Ministry of Foreign Affairs Thailand Facebook page, because I watched it last night. They're interviewing a farmer who has a chained monkey picking coconuts, and he talks about how this monkey is like part of his family, and he feeds this monkey as if he were one of his own, and he takes care of the monkey if the monkey's sick. And so you get the cultural aspect of what they're trying to show with this video. But you still have the monkey chained and not being able to be a monkey and go free. Now, people might say, well, look how you treat horses in the United States. Look how you treat oxen. Look how you treat cattle. It's so part of this, I get the cultural piece, which is why you have to be really careful. And if you're in Thailand, you have to know that what you are going to say is going to be looked at by an American consumer differently, or a British consumer, or an Aussie consumer, et cetera.
Yeah. So just one final point on that, Steve. You mentioned there that eventually they'll have no choice because consumers will force them. Is that necessarily true? Because the change is not happening as fast as maybe us upper middle class folks would like. Vast majority of people still want the cheapest eggs. They don't want cage-free eggs or barn-laid eggs. They want the cheapest eggs. They want the cheapest shampoos. They want the cheapest milk. So is that process of change going to happen as quickly as we would like?
The question is it going to have to be cheap and ethical? But if you start to get bans on certain products, or you get driven by investors who say, I'm not going to invest in those companies, it's going to come. So yeah, there's always going to be people who say, well, I just want the cheapest thing and I don't care how I get, from the ground to my table. But there's going to be more people who do care. And especially as you get people like your daughter and Glenn's kids who say, this is really important to me, it's going to change things. And businesses and investors, if they have that ESG mindset, they're going to be able to get ahead of this.